Hi, Tommy here. This video is about us losing a freaking fortune in trucking. Hope you like it. I don't. See ya. How's it going? Tommy here. Thought I'd catch you up on what's going on. I don't know what the second last video I made was about. Should we cut back in the amount of trucks we've got, or should we go up? And I had some really good comments in that video. A lot of people who seem to know what they're talking about had a lot of really good ideas, and so we're getting to the point to make decisions, and I'm going to make some. The other video after that was workshops will take all your money. Guess what? I came across it last night, fell asleep on the couch, I'm lying there. Super Steve calls me up and says, hey, my airbag on my front axle on the Kenworth T680 is leaking. Bust. Big leak at it. So he's in Denver, Colorado. Goes to the dealership over there. Guy calls me up and says, this is how much it is. 2 hours labour to change a front airbag on a Kenworth. I think is a bit excessive, to be honest with you. And I finished the conversation with this guy by saying, I've been doing this for 30 years and I can tell you, you have now won the award. You're at the top of the table for the highest labour rate I've ever came across in my entire life trucking. And it isn't like it's computer work or software or anything really technical, engine labour rate. This is changing an airbag. A monkey can do it, and I regularly do. I have done. But this isn't like a bus airbag in a Volvo B10M in Scotland where you have to lift the whole bus up in the air and get 2 axle stands and drop it down, and you're trying to get the airbag to fit around the pedestal, and you know. No, nothing like that. You unscrew these, you unbolt these things, you tip the hood forward in the truck, and it's right there. But the labour they quoted me on it was 2 hours labour. Here's the labour rate. You ready for this? $253 an hour. I thought, you know, I would expect somebody to give me brain surgery for $253 an hour. Maybe somebody did. No, but I just thought that was extortionate. $253, 2 hours. I said, no, I've got to tell you, that's just not happening. Not happening. I told Steve, just buy the airbag and take it to Love's up the street and get them to fit it. You know, ain't that hard. So that's what we did. But the trouble is when you're not seeing these trucks for weeks and weeks and weeks, you end up getting into situations where you had a guy going for don't want to mention his name, but he went in to get a tyre fitted in his trailer. I said, this tyre's a bit sketchy, and the guy checks around the tyres and there was metal cords shown in the steer tyre, and I don't know the answer to this. Really don't. Maybe run them a little bit more closer to home all the time, but I'm just not enjoying life at the minute. It sucks. I'm not getting to go to Scotland and spend any time with my wife. I'm not getting to do anything. There's no money in it. We're not making any money. We're losing money. We have lost money. The game absolutely. Nissan GTR. The game stinks. I watched Cassius King's video the other day, and he's done $5,000 in 5 days, and he's a decent operator. But once he's done with what he's doing, there's hardly any money to pay the truck, or pay the insurance, or pay the trailer, or all these things. It just becomes a bit squeezy. And when you're not making any money, 2 years ago, I look back at some of the rates we were getting. We used to go from here Idaho Falls to Fort Walton Beach, which is Pensacola, back up, and I think it was about, I want to say about 12.5 to 13,000 round trip for 4,000 miles. That's all miles. We load up just all there, and we come back into Salt Lake. So you've got what, 200 miles, 5% deadhead. That ain't bad. But now it's crap. What would we get to do that now? Maybe 7 or 8. Just rubbish. You know, with flatbeds are doing all right. And the good thing about the flatbeds is that you don't have. You buy a brand new flatbed for less than $900 a month, and a new reefer, you'd be $2,000 a month easy. So you're half the price for the trailer. So in order to run, here's my thinking, in order to run a reefer, you have to run something that, to get that type of payment on it, you're talking something that's 8 years old, maybe 7-8 year old, as opposed to a brand new flatbed. So you do have to buy the occasional strap that will break, and sometimes you have to repair your tarps, but you can do that quite easily, especially with the workshop that we've got now. We can roll them out, put some glue on them, some other glue in the other bit, and whack it on and roll it out. Job done. It's harder to do that with a reefer when it's, you know, a long way from home. But the whole issue that we have at the minute is we ain't making any money, and the flatbeds seem to be the way to go. Half the price for the trailer, so you get to run a brand new trailer instead of something that's 8 year old. So we don't have brake drum issues, S-cam bushings, we don't have airbags, wiring issues, lights. It's all brand new. So we've got 3 of them, and they're working really well. We've spent, guess how much on them in the last month since we had them? Nothing. Not a thing. Oh, tell a lie. We bought a marker light because one of them fell off. That's what happens when you've got some new equipment. You know, factory malfunction or whatever you call it. The other good thing about running flatbeds is that the rates right now for flatbeds, we're finding, are 10 to 15% more across the board than reefer. Yeah, you have to work a little bit, but you know the really good thing about, I'll come back to the really good thing about flatbeds, but another major thing is you don't have any reefer fuel. Going from here to Florida and back on a frozen load of spuds, you know, you ain't getting there in a tank. You know, you can more than 50 gallons to get down there. And if you're on the way back as well, so you get reefer fuel, you've got oil changes, you've got Freon, you've got belts, you've got alternators, you've got batteries, you've got oil leaks, crankshaft oil seals. You know, just a lot of repair goes into a reefer. So you can buy a brand new flatbed, run for 10% more, at least, minimum, run a brand new trailer, put in a little bit of elbow grease, and it seems to be better. The guys that have gone on to flatbed, I couldn't pay them to go back onto reefer. I just couldn't. They wouldn't do it, because the main thing about it for them is they'll go in, or you might occasionally get held up on a load, but generally people are glad to see you. They're glad you're there. They want the product. It's usually an end user, a lumber yard or something like that, where the people want the product. It's not a Walmart, or I can't even remember some of them over there in Atlanta or East Coast or something like that, where you pull up there and park the night before and you're in a great big line, and they say, well, you got to be here at 5 and we'll get to you when we get to you. Then the USDA inspector has to come around and check the product, and then we'll sign your paperwork and you might be out of there the same day. It doesn't happen with a flatbed. It's in and out. I would say 9 times out of 10 easily, maybe 19 times out of 20, our guys are in and out within 30 minutes to 2 hours at the max. So we like that, and the people that you're associating with, And I don't want to make everybody seem the same, but when I was doing it, some of the people in the distribution centres where you're taking your product, they're a bit jaded. They're, they look like they hate their job. They're in there, middle of the night, probably every reason to hate it. Excuse me. And just don't have any much hurry up about them. Any much hurry up? Is that the correct grammar? I don't think so really. But the flatbed stuff, you go in there and they want the stuff, you know. One thing, we haul steel racking, we haul hay to ranches. That's a good one. Love loading hay. 30 minutes you're loaded, get to the other end. Especially if you could just need to strap it, you get where you're going and it's off as quick as you can get. You know, get it. So what else are we hauling? Milk products, we tarp that. That's a good one to load and reload. You know, so the flatbeds seem to be the way to go. If anything's going to pull you through, I think it's flatbeds. But not sure what we're going to be doing. Not sure what size we're going to be going forward. It'd be great if everybody that's running for us was fit enough to do the flatbedding. I know that if I had all Steve boy throwing a strap over, he'd throw one strap over and be looking for an inhaler or a defibrillator. Brett's fit enough, but I don't think he's interested in doing it. There's a couple of guys that would, but and then who knows? They say that the third and fourth quarter is when it's all going to come back, rushing back. What is it? The manager, the general manager of the Freightliner dealership said, yeah, we went to a thing where these financial analysts, and this is Premier Truck Group, who there's a lot of them throughout the country, owned by Pennzoil, I think. Don't quote me on that. But he said that the financial analysts were saying that the third and fourth quarter there's going to be a surge, an upsurge. Now, to me, an upsurge, I may be reading into this, a surge, you know, if you cut the garden hose or you burst the hose under the sink and the water come flying out, that would be a surge. But I've got a funny feeling it might be an up trickle or an upturn. But an upsurge is maybe an optimistic terminology, but oh my goodness, I can't. And I spoke to him, I says, we are hurting, we are not making any money, and if anything, we are losing it. We're putting money in, we're losing money, just not happening. And the guy said, I can tell you right now, everybody is in the same position. Now the guy never told me this, but I was thinking of maybe trading away 2 of our Cascadias that are 2019s and trying to get a 2021 or a 2022 or 2023 with 100,000 miles on it, something like that, and to get rid of some trucks and move up into the warranty category and then eventually get new ones. But when I've never seen this, and I may be wrong, but Doug Andrus is probably, I think, they're Idaho's biggest carrier. They've got flatbeds, reefers, hoppers, grain trains, you know, all that stuff. But they have got in their lot right now some Freightliner Cascadias with just over 100,000 miles on them. And usually they're all at 420, 430, 440. But for them to have those trucks on their lots at that age, it makes me wonder. Maybe they're not theirs, maybe they've been coming in a trade, but they look like theirs. But all I can think is that they're thinking, well, they might have bought them, I don't know. Maybe assuming that they're not making any money and they're thinking, let's get rid of some of these trucks and let's downsize a bit. Their yard's full. I remember 18 months ago you drove by their yard and you couldn't get a truck for love nor money. No, nobody wants them. I've got reefers that I'd be lucky to get 30 grand for now, and I could have got 75 for them, 80. And in fact, I paid 87 for one now that I've been paying it. I paid 17. I bought this at the height. We had one of our trucks one of my trailers get wrecked, and I got massive money in insurance payout for it. And then I had to go buy another one. I'm thinking, oh, this is great, all this money for this insurance job. And I went to the dealership to replace it because I had a truck. You've got to have a trailer. I went and bought a 2019 reefer, thinking I'm moving up here. And I wanted to buy two, and the finance company said, nah, let's just do one unless you get a bigger deposit. So to give them $17,000 of real cash money. None of this trade-in inflated numbers just to make finance work. This was $17,000 I had to shell out for this reefer. And I took it over a short period of time because we were making so much money, and the payment on it is $2,400 a month. And I think I've paid it now for 19 months with a $17,000 deposit, $2,500 a month, $2,480 or something. I'm still upside down on it. The thing is, the value has come down on it so far that I put a good deposit on it. It was at 20% deposit. I've paid it for 2 years nearly, and the bloody thing, I'm still upside down on it. I might break even in 2 or 3 months' time, but what do you do? What do you do? It's a quandary. Everything, you know, you look back. I was talking to my partners here, and my wife and I went trucking when I came out the oil field in North Dakota, 2014 maybe, 10 years ago. And we took a load from Dallas to Los Angeles, and it was almond milk. 10 years ago this is. Almond milk. I got $2,450 for it. And then I got a load of shrubs out of the bottom side of San Bernardino there, going to Denver. I went to about 6 Home Depots around Denver, and then it finished out at Sydney, Nebraska, right? And I get $4,500 for that. And see, now 10 years later, if somebody offered me that tomorrow, I would think, all right, I'll probably do that. And it's this time of year as well. And since then, shop rates, as we found out last night, $253 an hour. We get it for actually right at half that at the Freightliner dealer here in town. I just hate being ripped off. Fuel is way more expensive. Insurance is 150% more than it was then. Trucks are more, the supply chain's more, parts are incredibly high. I don't think I paid shop supplies 10 years ago. That's a new thing. That's an 8% surcharge on every bill that you get. The hourly rate for workshops is through the roof. You know, if I have a truck breakdown back east and it's anywhere from 160 to 175, I think I'm really doing well inside a dealer. So, you know, I didn't think there was much money in the trucking game back then, but my goodness, when you look at those numbers, it's a big difference. Making nothing, no happy, and have to make changes. So what the changes are, womp womp, who knows? I see people that are better than me doing it and having the same struggle. All I can think is, and this is all I can think, some of these big companies, we had this discussion not that long ago, my son brought it up, where Tommy said, you know, the PPE loans that everybody got, if you're a trucking company and you had, you know, let's take Super T trucking up there, or let's go with Andrus, because Super T was bought out. Andrus is somebody I know, I don't know them personally, but we know of them, they're right in town here. If they had 400 trucks and how many employees? Let's go with 400 drivers, I'm guessing at this, but if you're that size of outfit, you've got dispatchers, mechanics, safety people, HR, accounts, so let's say you've got another 100 people on top of that, and you've got 500 employees, and you get a PPE loan, which they've all been forgiven now, as far as I can know. That's a massive amount of money they had during the lockdown thing, And I don't know whether they've been sitting on all that money and they're able to ride this out on government money, and the rest of us are starving. I never got any PPE money. I know that there are a lot of companies in this game that did get it, and if you were smart enough and you knew the banking rules and how to do it, which most of them do, you know, there was millions and millions of dollars given out in PPE loans that they were forgiven, didn't have to repay them, and I'm suspicious that some of these companies are still sitting with that money, and that's what's getting them through this massive long. And that might be why the recession in trucking, and you know, they changed the recession calculations roundabout, but there's a freaking recession. Don't be kidded that there's not. If you take out fuel, you know, apparently, don't quote me on this, but I've heard that when they calculate inflation, that fuel and groceries aren't part of it, the calculation, you know. And then they change the rules for what a recession is. The economy's in the crapper, and that's why trucking's in it. It's always a good reflection. I heard somebody say that. I think it was Cassius King said that. I don't want to steal his quote, but if the trucking's in the recession, the country's in the recession. Vice versa. If the country's in the recession, so is trucking. Anyway, that's me. I've rambled long enough. I need to come up with a plan and to move forward. Some way to cut our bills and cut things down and get better rates and saving fuel, and there's only so much you can take off of certain things. So anyway, that's my chat. That's my jam. Got a bit of sandwich left. I'll have it. See you later.